National assemblies continue to function within a system whereby the very tenets of devolution, whereby we call into account senators, members of the county assembly, such as yourself, Honorable Kigara, that why do we allow the functions to continue knowing full well that a transitional authority, for example, that came into play and came up with a report on how this implementation would happen, but we kind of ignore that, don't we? And we just go ahead and do the work as though, okay, well, if they're going to release 68 billion shillings, if they're going to, because essentially we're not just talking about the release of 68 billion shillings, we're talking about the release of control.
Correct.
So why continue to operate knowing full well that the law is actually not being followed?
Actually, that's where the rubber meets the road, if you ask me. You see, the Constitution under Article 174 is very express in what it sets out to get. And ideally, what the Constitution wants is members of communities to have decision-making power for themselves. This is to say, they want to manage their own affairs. In fact, the Constitution is very express. It says communities should manage their own affairs. To do that, you have all these arms of government which are supposed to do what they do. Now, what happens, by the way, if you have a community managing its own affairs, it's then empowered. An empowered community makes very different political decisions. So, you start from a level of where funds are supposed to be devolved. You have those systems starting to be curtailed. I'll give you an example. We are in the financial year 2026-2027. We have what we call division of revenue allocation. Division of revenue allocation is where you have Parliament coming and deciding what share of the cake is going to go to counties, right? Now, it is envisioned, the drafters of our Constitution just said, the most recent audited revenues, we go by that, and then we decide 15% of that goes to counties. We're in the last financial year for those of us who are in elected politics, right? But the division of revenue allocation that
actually,
we're using
according
today,
to the High Court,
well,
as of Friday, done.
I followed what Willis was saying, and so yeah, we could be out of office anytime, right? But let's assume we have another year to go. Now, the good folks at the National Parliament see it fit to give us what we call a constitutional baseline to determine our income as the 2022-2023 audited accounts. Okay? Now, not just audited accounts, but audited revenue. Now, what is important here to note for Kenyans is that we're looking at audited and approved revenues. So we have audited accounts for 2023-2024, audited accounts for 2024-2025, still seated, gathering dust. And by the way, we don't require parliamentarians to go and re-audit or do anything new. They're just supposed to take a report from the from the Auditor General, put it in front of the floor of the House, debate it, approve it, set up constitutional baseline. Now, what is the net effect of that not happening? It means we're using a 2 trillion budget figure, right, to determine the cake which is being served today, as opposed to a potential 2.5 trillion, I believe. 2.9 trillion. Yeah. The compounding effect is that right now counties are being denied somewhere near 70 to 80 billion in potential revenue. Now, when we talk about empowering communities and funds following, we do public participation when we want to do development. We go right to the village, you ask people, what are your priorities? And they'll say, we want a bridge here, we want a level 2 hospital here, we want our roads graveled. But when you look at the resources which are supposed to come, you're saying, look, the economy hasn't grown from 2022. We're in 2026, 2027 financial year. But you're telling those folks, we really can't afford some of these things because the figures of 2022 say, yeah, we don't deserve. When you don't give counties their projected, let's call it 75 billion, give or take, you're basically saying a whole month worth of exchequer releases. Actually, it's about a month and a half. If you compound that, you're basically saying Kiambu, for instance, gets about 1.1 billion. You're saying we are less about 200 billion worth of services. That's a whole vote line that can take care of nurses alone. Right?
Yes.
So I don't understand how this megalomaniac way of doing things in Parliament is being allowed to thrive, essentially curtailing services to counties.
So, Kevin, is it by design? Because